Welcome to the Easton.Online podcast. I'm your host, Eliot Marshall. And what this podcast is here to do, it's here to help you gain strategies and tactics and tools that are going to help you grow in your martial arts business. If you have a martial arts school, a gym, this is one of my passions, is how we spread the message of how to really grow culture and business and some ways that we do it the best with our people, with our staff, with our clients. So I hope you enjoy. Give it a listen. All right, guys, here we are back. Another episode of Easton.Online with Sean Madden. What up, man?
How's it going?
You are the first. You have been the first for our Muay Thai program the whole way through here.
Yeah, leading the way. I like it.
Leading the way. How's your quarantine going?
So far, so good. I mean, relatively speaking, I would say great, considering everyone else. So uneventful, which I think is what it's supposed to be.
Yes, uneventful. That's a good word.
So it's going like that,
yeah.
Which is good, I think. Yep.
As eventful as mine has been, I guess it's uneventful in the big scheme of things too. So yeah, it's just what it is. Yeah,
and I remember someone saying that at the beginning. If this is successful, that is what it should kind of feel like to us. It should feel like nothing, and it should feel like this was a waste of time. To some people, but that means it's also been successful. So
that means you were lucky.
Exactly. Yeah. It means you're lucky,
It means you were really lucky in a way. I mean, even if it was a big waste of time, it just means that you were really lucky. Because if this was eventful, something really bad happened.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. So luck is a big part of it for sure.
Yes, I would agree. All right, let's get into it a little more. Just how's your coffee, by the way? I'm sorry I couldn't.
It's good.
I'm sorry I couldn't provide. I really like to provide the coffee for everyone.
You know what? That was one thing that I was looking forward to. But in the future, when we can reconvene, I'll take you up on a cup of coffee with the next podcast. We've
had some coffee and food adventures through our times.
We have, and they've been good. So man. I look forward to those.
Bro, those wings I made the other day, they were fire.
Those look delicious.
Yeah, they were
fire. I would say Abby and I talk about Jay's wings probably once a week.
So just a little background story of what we're talking about here. We were out at Corey's fight, I think, right? It was Corey's fight.
Anaheim, yep.
Anaheim. And we just, we wanted a Korean barbecue. And we just found this little fucking hole in the wall, right? Like a total Mall Easton style place, right? It's in an alley, right? And then we walked in and the dude just treated us like gods, right? He knew that we were there for the UFC or something, and it was amazing, right? And we got a discount on the bill, and they gave us so much food.
The service was great. The food was better.
Yeah, and then you took Abby back the next day, right? She came.
We went the next day, and then on top of that, we went to a wedding in Palm Springs last fall. Okay, Palm Springs is 2.5 hours outside of LA, right? We flew into LAX, and we drove down to Anaheim to go to Jay's and then go to the wedding. That's
the other way. Was it the other way?
So we went south to Anaheim, and then we went out east 2.5 hours afterwards.
Fuck yeah!
To the wedding. That's how good that place is. So
it's amazing. It's amazing. The French fries, right?
Amazing.
The tacos, all of it.
So good.
So good.
There's your endorsement, Jace.
They should sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Jordan, let's make sure we tag Jay's Wings in this, or Jay's Korean food. Whatever. Jordan went the first time too. Yeah,
he did. Right. Yeah, he knows. Yeah. So he knows. Yep.
So yep. All right. So where did this whole martial arts thing get started for you? How did you come to it?
So let's see. I had always watched UFC. And I don't remember when Forrest and Stefan fought. Do you remember what year it was?
Okay, so it had to be 04, 05.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so because the Ultimate Fighter definitely aired in 04.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I can't remember if it was the
somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, okay. That's when the whole thing blew up.
So I guess I could say that I had about 5 years of watching MMA before I stepped into the first Easton Academy. I came in January 2009.
Okay.
So we're on 11 years now.
Damn, 11 years, huh?
Yeah. Snuck up. I had played a bunch of other sports prior in high school. In college, even my first year, I played lacrosse. I transferred my second semester of my sophomore year. I was at University of San Diego, and obviously in San Diego. I transferred to CU to come back home. When I made that transfer, I decided I was going to stop playing lacrosse, and I just kind of wanted something else to do. You know,
so you left because you grew up here in Colorado.
I grew up here in Colorado. Yeah, so it's kind of a whirlwind story how I got to San Diego. I put all of my eggs in the basket to go to the U.S. Naval Academy.
Okay.
And I was in, by all accounts. I had, you know, you need senator recommendations to go there. I had two. I actually had one from John McCain.
Oh wow. Okay.
From Arizona. Yeah. So that's a separate story. But I had flown actually to DC to do an interview with him, and then he gave me a personal recommendation to the Naval Academy.
So you met McCain? I
met McCain.
Oh, that's cool.
In DC. Yep.
Yeah.
So he's friends with my dad.
Okay. Nice.
Right.
Got it.
They testified to Congress together.
So they know each other.
They know each other, right? Yeah.
What did they testify to Congress about?
I'm going to say it was against Balco or something.
Oh, okay. Got
One of those cases, right?
Your dad was USADA. Your dad was working for USADA. He
was the first CEO of USADA.
Got it.
Yep. And his predecessor, Travis Tigert, is who's in his place now.
Okay.
So Travis is taking all the heat now. My dad sits back and just kind of laughs now. Travis is getting roasted.
What's he getting roasted for? What's going on?
You know, all the UFC stuff. I mean, you know, that falls into his lap.
The tainted supplement stuff.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
And it is a big problem.
It's a big problem.
You know,
it's a big problem.
And then other stuff, Olympic related, you know,
right,
but
right.
Yeah, so that's just kind of the hot seat that you're in when you take that job.
Yeah, you know it, right? I mean,
for sure.
I saw a post the other day, and not to get political, but it was a picture of Trump, you know, and it said, "Do you really want to do this again for another 4 years?" Right? Yeah. I mean, like, love him or hate him.
Sure.
Either way, that dude has had more criticism hoisted upon him. And I mean, look, everyone knows I don't like him, so it's fine. Right? Like than anybody. Like it's not. I
don't envy that job.
How could you possibly want to go again?
Right. I don't envy that job.
Unless you're a narcissist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, unless you can't get enough of it.
Yeah, unless you love it.
Yeah, that's true. So look,
anyway, go ahead.
All the eggs in the basket for the Naval Academy. I was essentially academically qualified. I had to get my eye exam. I got my eye exam. My eyes were not good enough to go. And you cannot get eye surgery before you go to the academy. They have to do it for you there. Because they want it on their time. You know, they don't want you to get it and then your eyes to get worse. So there's a liability with it. They sent me to the Air Force Academy because I lived in the Springs then, I think probably 8 different times for eye exams over the next couple of weeks. And, you know, it was the same. I didn't even have a backup school. I applied to a bunch of other schools, but I didn't care about any other schools. You know, we're talking like April of my senior year of high school, about to graduate. And we figure out I'm not getting in. We go out we're like, all right, well, we have to figure out where you're going to school now. Go out to USD, to San Diego. We go out and visit. First time I've ever been to San Diego. It was amazing. I was like, yeah, I'll go to school here. You know, I chose it based on location, you know? And so we get through 3 semesters and I figured out it wasn't for me, you know, the people there, just the culture. It wasn't exactly a place that I fit into. And so I decided to come back home to CU. And when I did that, so that would have been my second semester of sophomore year, which was January 2009. And so that's when I looked up Easton. I was like, I want to try something new now. And that's kind of how it started. And
Dwayne was running the program at the time, right?
Dwayne was running the program. Yeah, it was Dwayne and Tyler. You know, and I think kind of like everyone, like the majority of people, I was training pretty casually to start, you know. It's my first semester at CU as a sophomore, and I had a lot of friends from high school who were going there at the time, you know.
Right.
So it was like catching up on partying with them. So training a little bit, partying a lot. And when I first really got serious was actually that summer when we had a couple people getting ready for fights. Bernardo Fonte.
Yeah.
If you remember him, right? he was getting ready for a fight, and he asked me.
And I love Bernardo, bro. Bernardo came over my house getting ready for that fight, right? And it was a week before, and he came over with a 6-pack of beer to drink. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, he was a character.
Yeah. I like Bernardo though.
Yeah, me too. He asked me to be a training partner for that summer, you know, and I stayed up there in between semesters, and I was like, yeah, sure, man. And that's when we really started training hard. You know, we were training early mornings and afternoons, and I was like, man, I love this, you know. And that's kind of when everything really took off.
What made you love it?
I think the discipline of it, you know, it pushed me to somewhere that I hadn't been before with sports, I think, you know. Everything I played, well, actually, that's not true. I played golf for a long time. The reason I played golf was that I worked at a golf course when I was younger. Okay. Which is still to this day one of my favorite jobs. It was awesome. It was hard work. It was really hard work. But it was a really fun job. And
what did you do at the golf course?
I did everything that you could at a golf course. I worked on the maintenance crew. I worked on fixing golf carts. So it was a private country club. No caddying at that club. So we couldn't carry the bags, but we could do everything else. You know, I learned a lot about life at that job. You know, it was cool. You know, there's a lot of older members there, and they would share stories, and you know, you grow up quick in that job, I would say. So you know, you spend 8 hours working, 10 hours working, and then the rest of the time during the day when the sunlight was out, we were playing golf because we were at a golf course, you know. Right. And I got really good. You know, I made it to state my senior year in high school. It was, golf is a very challenging sport mentally. I would say I learned a lot of good lessons from that. Physically, maybe not so much, but mentally it's a tough sport. Being alone on a course for 4 hours, you know, and think about making, you know, one bad shot, you can choose to reset yourself for the next shot, or you can let that spiral out of control, and then you have a bad hole, and then you have a bad front nine, and then you have that whole day is bad. So there was a lot of lessons.
You watch people implode.
Yeah.
More in golf than in any other sport.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't end, right? Like in a fight, if you implode in a fight, you just get beat, and it can almost be hidden.
Right.
Right? Like it like just goes downhill and then it's over. It ends.
Yeah.
But like watching somebody fuck up the second hole of like Sunday at the Masters. Right.
And you're like, I have 16 of these left with all these people watching. Fuck this.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm in the lead. I'm in the lead by one shot. And you've never been in the lead before, and Tiger's chasing you. Right. Like back in the day. Oh my God. Right.
Yeah. So I don't, you know, physically you can call it a sport or not a sport. I don't really care. Mentally, it's a tough sport to play. And I learned a lot of good lessons from golf. Where were we aside from that?
Oh, so you the summer, right? The summer with Bernardo. And that's when you figured out that you wanted to train. And I asked you, what made you really love it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I think physically pushing myself to a different level. You know, the sports I had played before hadn't necessarily done that. Or if they did, they were team sports. You know, this was the first individual physical sport that I had done that had really pushed me to a different level. So I think that really captured a lot for me.
Got you. So then that summer passes, and then you're just in.
I'm in. Yeah, I'm training as much as I can, you know, and it's like a pretty dramatic shift. Like, you know, I'm still in university. I'm still hanging out with the same friends. I'm making a change. They're not, you know, and they're like, why aren't you coming to this party? Why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, I have to train in the morning. You know, it's like kind of like your standard story. But it was cool, man, you know, like, and then all of a sudden I'm preparing for my first fight, and they're, you know, everyone's kind of like, oh, you know, making fun of you a little bit, and, you know, let's go party, and I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, so you start to learn about discipline a little bit and sacrifice and everything that comes along with the sport, you know, and I would say that was kind of the first time that I started to evolve a little bit, you know what I'm saying, where I could kind of watch myself separate from everyone else, and not like they're bad people at all, right, but right. They're caught up in the moment of what college is about. And I thankfully found this thing at that time.
Something else hooked you.
Yeah. And it took me on a different path, you know?
Right.
And And I don't regret anything I did in college either. I learned a lot of important life lessons outside of the classroom in college too, probably more so than in the classroom.
Shit.
But yeah, that's a separate topic.
I can't remember a fucking thing.
Right. Yeah. I have a finance degree that's completely useless. So,
I mean, the only thing I use my math degree for now, bro, is to watch people fuck up how to do percentage on death rate.
Yeah.
I'm like, you dumb assholes, you need to multiply by 100. It's not just the division.
Right.
Yeah, you got to multiply by 100, you fuckheads.
Yep. They divide and then leave it.
They divide, then leave it and put a percent on it.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you that those two numbers divided are 0.04.
Yeah.
But that's not percent.
You're not done yet.
You're not done.
Yeah.
So that's all I use my math degree for.
Yeah, so that was, I really started to kind of make a change then.
Right.
And it was great. It was a really nice positive turn in my life.
So you went the fighter route for a while, right?
I did.
And I'd say Dwayne was a very big mentor for you in the beginning of your Muay Thai journey.
Yeah. He was still fighting then. He was active, I had helped him in some of his camps, and naturally I was like, man, this is kind of what I want to do. This is who I want to be like. And I pursued that head on, it's always an interesting time to have someone who's your mentor, who's still actively competing. Because now I can see that looking back because I've been in that role, right? I've tried to coach people when I was actively competing, and I don't think I gave them my best. I'm not saying Dwayne did that or not, but that's my experience with it.
It's impossible to.
And you've been there too.
No, I was there with him as well, right? Like
exactly.
Like the effort that he put into TJ and like, look, I'm not in any way talking shit on Dwayne. Right? Dwayne was great for me. Like Dwayne was great for me. It was amazing. But if you're going to say that the effort that he put into TJ and the alpha male guys, it's not possible. Like if he was fighting, it couldn't have been possible. Like there's no way he could, nobody can do that. So those are always interesting relationships at the end of them, right? Like, or not at the end, because I mean, I think we all still have a relationship, but like when each one of you might have to do something different.
Yep.
Because, and as to be expected, and it's important to be able to try to keep the relationship. And I think we've done that really well with Dwayne as an organization and as people, because I think he played a big role in both of our journeys through martial arts.
Yeah. And I say that all the time whenever people kind of ask about my background in training and stuff, I don't talk to Dwayne as much as I used to anymore, of course. But I will always say that I owe Dwayne a ton for what he taught me, and what he gave me coming up. I'm indebted to him for that, for sure. I think even the fact that he was competing, he still gave above and beyond what a lot of people would have competing at that level. And I owe him for that.
I would say Dwayne gave as much as possible for him to give in the moment.
100%.
Right, in the moment. You can't compare.
No.
And I think this happens a lot of times. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is I think this happens a lot of times with martial arts and instructors and mentors that you have in martial arts is you like, you look at a situation and you go, man, look how much more he's giving now or whatever it is. It's like, yo, dude, somebody's whole life changed. This is all they have to do.
Right.
This is all they have to do is this now, where before it was A, B, C, and D. Whatever that was with their life, and I think, and it happens a lot in martial arts, right? Yeah. It happens a lot in martial arts because we start to idolize that person.
Yeah.
Right. We start to put them on this pedestal, an unfair pedestal to be on.
Yeah. It's a burden.
It's and then because of just life circumstances, sometimes we can't I don't even want to say you can never live up to it. Right. You can never live up to it. Nobody can. When you get put on a pedestal like that, it's just so hard to live up to.
Yeah. That's other people's expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we feel it now, right? Like, it's like, dude, people they sometimes they need, because you're the head of the Muay Thai program, right?
Right.
That it's like, dude, you have to do this on your own a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%.
So then, Dwayne opens his own school. Right. And now you start to really take over the Easton program, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it initially started by me just teaching his Friday night class at the original Boulder Academy.
Okay.
you know, and I remember I got on. I was obviously super nervous to start taking that class over. One, because my mentor had taught that class, right? Those are big shoes to fill. Right. And who am I? And two, I hadn't taught before, you know. It was kind of jump in the deep end, you know. We need someone to teach this class. Can you teach it? Yeah, sure. I like Muay Thai. I'll do it. You know, and it started there. And then it was kind of gradually, you know, I was hanging around the academy at all hours of the day, even when I wasn't teaching. I trained, maybe Corey and I trained in the morning, and then I was there all afternoon, you know, and I was like, okay, well, why don't you take on a couple more classes? Why don't you teach the noon class when we have these? As the schedule expanded, you know, I slowly started to become a little bit more of a presence with those classes. You know, I started, you know, I had a good relationship with Tyler by then. Sometimes when he needed classes covered at the Denver location, I would go down there, you know, so I started to kind of expand the network a little bit and start to meet the Easton crew down there.
And this is when we were still at Broadway.
That's Favela. Yep.
Favela. Yep.
So I taught there for, I don't know, a couple of years, you know. Right. I was kind of back and forth with both of them. So I developed a relationship with the Denver guys prior to that. I still, you know, if you ask people, well, now it's, you know, program director, I'm all Eastons and we're all locations, you know, but for a while, you know, I started at Boulder, and then when we opened the training center in Denver, I was there. So I'd kind of switched back and forth, you know, and people were like, oh, you're leaving me here, or you're leaving here, you know. So there was always kind of like this tug of war with which school I was like representing, you know, and where my like who I cared about the most, you know. But I think we've done a really good job now of you know, one academy and not necessarily, yeah, you'll always have your home academy, but as Easton, we're one team, right? And we look out for everyone. So
for sure. Let me ask this question, and this might be a very hard question to answer, a little controversial here.
Sure.
Easton started as Easton Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And then we added this like Muay Thai program once a week.
Yep.
So I would say that Muay Thai has always felt as though, and look, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, right? And Amal's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
So like when we post about training, or if I talk about training, I talk about jiu-jitsu because it's what I do.
It's what you know.
It's I mean, I know Muay Thai, right? But I don't.
Sure.
But Muay Thai didn't hook me ever. I did. Right. I got good at Muay Thai because I wanted to fight. Right. And it was mandatory.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I don't do any Muay Thai right now.
Right.
I probably should, but I don't. You know, maybe I'll work on that after quarantine. What is that like younger brother feeling been like the whole time? Like, because I wouldn't say that if you count the student count, especially at the two main schools, Boulder and Denver, and I only say main schools before everyone gets upset because they're the largest. Okay.
Right.
Especially at those two schools because there's a lot of space for both.
Right.
You know. The numbers are rather equal, if not more on the kickboxing side, Muay Thai, you know?
Right.
So, but I know that there's always been this like, but it's still a jiu-jitsu school. How have you dealt with that? You
know, I think honestly, probably up until recently, and by recently, I maybe say like a year or two ago, you know, when we really started to make some changes. I think initially when I first started, I didn't know the difference, like in terms of, okay, this is heavily a jiu-jitsu school. I was glad there was a Muay Thai program because that's what I was training in. I was in my bubble, right? And then as I started to become more involved with Easton, you know, I think there's like some natural kind of like resentment, like, man, I love Muay Thai a lot. Why is this not more on the forefront of what Easton's promoting, you know? And now we're at a point where it's like, well, you know, this is my job now. You know, this is my job is to promote the Muay Thai program, right? You guys pick someone who loves Muay Thai, who tries to live and breathe Muay Thai, right? And promote the program. And that is 100% my job now. So I look at it now that if it's not being promoted as much as jiu-jitsu, that's my fault. You know, like I'm not doing my job. And exactly like you said, I think, you know, it's just something that you guys don't necessarily do. And even though I'm all started in Muay Thai, which is cool. Like I like to tell people that a lot.
I started in karate. Yeah. I started in stand-up karate. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's not your first passion. And there's people who maybe are more knowledgeable on the topic than you are. So you pick someone who is more qualified to lead that and do that. And so now that I feel like I'm in that position, it's my job to do that. And if it's not Easton Training Center, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai equal, then I'm not doing my job.
That's a good way to look at it. And I know you didn't always have this out.
I didn't.
Right. Like what made the shift for you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think honestly, it was probably just a personal shift, right? Learning about accountability, and understanding the things that I can control and not blaming other people for it. Right. We're kind of going down the Jocko path here a little bit, but I've read a lot of his books and they apply. And I've had a lot of my students and instructors read his books when we've had these similar conversations, because this is a natural conversation that comes up, I think, in people's, I guess, careers. At some point, you love this so much. You're like, man, why is this not the first thing we're talking about? Right. And then I've had this conversation with a lot of instructors and we've had the aha moment, and I said, cool, let's make it our job to make this Easton Training Center jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, not jiu-jitsu, subtitle Muay Thai. Right. And,
right.
I enjoy having that conversation now, because it's something that I 100% truly believe in. And I don't feel like it's just lip service, so, but going back to what you said, I think it's accountability, if I don't do it, who is going to do it, because I'm the one who's qualified to, and knowledgeable enough and passionate enough to make it happen. So let's do it,
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into some of the particulars of running a Muay Thai program.
Sure.
I think where it started was a curriculum.
Yeah.
Right? Like we had to write out a curriculum.
Yep.
That's not like, so these combat martial arts, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, wrestling, right? There's no curriculums. Like when they were originally taught, because there's no forms, there's no katas, right? Where you like, okay, this belt, you learn this,
Right.
Like you just kind of come in and the instructor teaches as they teach.
Right.
Right. I feel like teaching roundhouse kicks today,
Yeah.
So the first step was the curriculum. What was it like developing a curriculum for Muay Thai originally?
Sure. I'm going to take a step back and just kind of touch on what you just said too, especially with Muay Thai. Like if you look at it in Thailand, it is a 100% an industry based on fighters and the ability for gyms to bring income in, right? It's not progression. They all are, right? Yes. Yeah. Like you walk into one of those gyms as a Thai kid and they're looking at you like a commodity, right? Will this kid be able to fight? It has nothing to do with the curriculum or retention. It's can this kid bring us money? So that is the background that Muay Thai comes from, right? And it continues to be that way over there. So now you have to look at, okay, we have Muay Thai in America, right? Where kids are not fighting every single day, right? Most of them don't want to fight, right? So how do we keep them in this sport, or how do we keep adults in this sport without having to actually fight? And with that, you need structure, you need progression, you need retention. And so I think a curriculum is one of the most important things you can have if you have a Muay Thai program in the US. And it's shocking the amount of people that don't. Like you said, that someone will just come in and decide, okay, we're doing this today and that tomorrow, and it's kind of a day-by-day thing. So
jiu-jitsu is the same way still.
It's really crazy to me.
It's crazy.
And that's kind of a separate topic. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, right? You love something so much like jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai that you want to open your own place, right? And then you do, and then you're like, oh shit, well, I don't know anything about business, so separate topic, right? But the curriculum, I'm someone who's very structure oriented, right? You can probably gather that from my background. Like I said, trying to go to the Naval Academy, that's as structured as you can get, but I thrive off of structure.
Sure. Free spirits don't really go to the Naval Academy.
Definitely not. No, definitely not. I thrive off of structure and organization. The hard skills like that, I think I am good at. And, so having a curriculum or being able to create one was something that wasn't that hard for me. It came down to just putting it on paper and putting it in the right format. And that was easy, and I knew I could do that. So I kind of raised my hand and said, hey, I'll do this. I think that's important to demonstrate value or show something that you can do, right? Instead of just waiting for someone to ask you to do something, you got to step up and demonstrate that you can do it.
Yeah, I think one of the big distinctions for us, and where there was a lot of stickiness, which was very hard, and where there was two topics that both kind of blended together, right? And I would say it's a kickboxing program.
Yep.
Right? That would not be separate from the Muay Thai program, but be a little separate, right? Like I don't know, separate, but be a little separate's the wrong word there. But be like a feeder. It's the way
up. Onboarding.
It's onboarding, right? And then the ranking of how we do that.
Yep.
Right? Like kickboxing 2.
Right.
Right? And like the progression of through Muay Thai, just like the progression in jiu-jitsu classes or in universities, right?
100%.
Like freshmen, all the way through. So that was difficult. Right? Like
it was tough.
When do they get to start to have contact? Right?
Right.
Like, do they have to go to Muay Thai? Like, do they have to spar? Can they move up the ranks without sparring?
Right.
How did you guys and all of us together deal with that?
Sure. That, I think kind of like everything, there was a lot of trial and error, right? There was a lot of suggestions from everyone. There was a lot of shooting holes in suggestions, right? There was a lot of trying to implement things and getting feedback from students or, saying, I want to do this or this, this isn't working necessarily. And just continuing to refine the process, there are a lot of academies now in the US that have some type of ranking system. I think ours is honestly one of the most thorough and complete because of the amount of trial and error and the process that it's taken to get it where it is today,
Can you explain our ranking system, please?
Yeah, sure. So we have, in terms of shirt level, so let's go back first. Let's go to class. Let's go to the level of classes. We have kickboxing, which is our onboarding class. That's day one student walks into an Easton Academy and says, I want to do striking. Cool. You're going to jump into the kickboxing class. That's a heavy bag class on an 8-week curriculum. No contact with your partner. You may work with a partner on the bag, but you're not hitting each other, right? Or you're learning the basic offense and defense, right? You're learning to walk before you can run.
How do you not turn that into cardio kickboxing?
That's a good question, right? All of our instructors have been training with us for a while. They know the techniques. A lot of them have competed, so they are competition tested techniques too, right? Whereas we look at a cardio based kickboxing program, not necessarily required to be a competitor or even study martial arts to teach those classes. It comes from more of a fitness industry, and no knock on them. It's a different industry, right? But a lot of our instructors are competition tested, so they know not only the how, but they know the why behind the techniques, which is really important, right? So we're not just running the students through the motions and trying to kill them with burpees. They still get killed with burpees, right? But they're learning real applicable techniques from the martial art. And I think that's what makes the difference for us.
Why did we not go the kickboxing route, like the cardio kickboxing? Oh, I think we actually, so I shouldn't say that. We started the cardio kickboxing route. Right?
We did.
But we said this ain't working.
Right. It's not us. It's just not who we are, right? It is kind of a lucrative business. There's always going to be people who want to do fitness, boxing or kickboxing, but at the core of who Easton is, that's not us. We are battle tested martial arts, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. We have people who have competed at the highest levels of both sports and champions. So we have found a way to transfer that information and make it applicable to everyone of all ages and skill levels and make it fun too, So I think we found a really great balance between the two, right? This is not hardcore. You come in and you're going to get choked on your first day or you're going to get punched on your first day. And this is not, you come in and you hit the bag and here's your towel and, thanks for coming in. This is not a country club either. Right. There's a little bit of tough love here, but that's part of the martial arts. So we've
martial arts.
100%. It's a balance. And I think we walk that line really well. We found that sweet spot in the middle of both of them, And honestly, I would say we even err more towards the side of a little bit of like tough love, right? Because that's the reality of this is like you're coming in to learn these lessons and they're going to transition into your life really well, right? But we're not coddling anyone. We're nice to people. We love people, right? But you're going to learn some hard lessons on the mat, even in kickboxing. If you're not having contact, you're going to learn you're going to learn about yourself in that class. 100%.
We do not, we soften the initial blow.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. We soften the initial blow so that it can be for everyone.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. The blow's going to come.
It will.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's coming. We don't coddle you from the blow. Right. But it's like a child.
Yes.
Right. You treat it like a child. My kid can't handle, making sure that we are surviving during coronavirus with finances, right? Like, things like that. That's not on him. Right. Like you can't put that on him. So you have to ease into adulthood.
Yes.
We do the same thing. We ease into adulthood.
Yep. Yeah. You're going to go into the fire either way. Right. But we're not throwing you in on day one. Right. We're getting you a little closer every single day. Right. And by the time you get in, it's like, wow, this is hot, but I know what to expect a little bit. Right.
You had warm before.
You had warm. You have a point of reference.
Yeah.
Right?
You had warm before. You didn't have just like blazing blue fire.
Right.
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 You started with that, like, ooh, right. All right.
Yeah. It's a little uncomfortable every time. Right. But it's not overly uncomfortable. And look, and that's not easy to accomplish either, and I would say we've put people in the fire before on accident, in hindsight, we've made a lot of mistakes, on both sides of the mat, probably more than we care to admit. We don't.
I don't have time to go over them all on the podcast.
Exactly. But that is what has led us to where we are today. Right. So it's important, and it's not easy to get to that point for sure.
Right. All right. So you have your kickboxing program, your kickboxing level 1 program, 8-week curriculum, no contact, all in the bag. Yep. You might have a partner. What's next?
Next is Muay Thai fundamentals. So the big part about this class, and this is where we see a lot of other academies start people. And this is why we kind of developed our system, is this class is now focused on learning how to hold pads and work with a partner. Right. So just like we talked about a second ago, you felt a little bit of the warmth. Okay. I know how to hit the bag. Right. I've started to coordinate my body a little bit. I feel a little bit more confident on throwing these techniques. Now we're going to show you how to work with a partner, right? There's a big gap between showing up on day one and being like, okay, here's your partner, hold these Thai pads. This guy's going to punch them in front of your face. And you're like, no, I'm good.
Thanks for that intro class.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm out. Right. I'm going over to cardio kickboxing now.
Right.
Now the person is, let's say they've been in for 2 or 3 months, which is about the time it takes to get into the Muay Thai fundamentals class.
So what is the ranking up until that point? So you come in, you get your white shirt when you sign up, right?
Yep. So a couple classes in, you get your first ranking, the white shirt. Okay. To be eligible for Muay Thai fundamentals, you need your yellow shirt. That's our second ranking. And we're looking at about 2 months, sometimes, 2 to 3 months of training. It's always like that area, right? It's not a hard line. We're never making people pay for their promotions, right? It's on instructor discretion and criteria that we have that the students are aware of, right? It's not a blind criteria to them.
And it's based on the student by student as well, right? You're not going to hold somebody
100%.
You're not holding a 45-year-old accountable the same way you're holding a 25-year-old athlete.
No way, right? Yeah, it's different for everyone, right? But we do have guidelines that we use for these promotions.
Right.
So once you get your yellow shirt, which is your second promotion, you're eligible for Muay Thai fundamentals. From there, we're learning how to hold pads, which to me is the most important part. A lot of people have the belief that learning how to hit pads is important. But if you learn how to make good pad holders, people will learn how to hit pads by default. Learning how to hit pads is easy. You see a target, you hit a target, right? You learn that in kickboxing when you hit the bag. You see a target, you hit a target. Learning how to hold pads is a separate skill entirely. And once again, we go back to Muay Thai in the USA versus Muay Thai in Thailand. In Thailand, you don't hold pads for anyone ever. There's designated trainers who make a living by holding pads. I've met a lot of people who have come from Thailand who come to the US and they're like, I don't know how to hold pads. I know Muay Thai. I don't know how to hold pads. Right?
And they're good at Muay Thai. They're really good at Muay Thai.
They're great. They're great at, yeah, you're right. But they don't know how to work with another partner. In the US, we do not have the luxury at Easton to hire 200 Muay Thai trainers to hold pads for everyone, right?
You don't have the luxury because there's this thing called a minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I wouldn't want it that way either. I want people to learn that skill. It's a really important skill,
I agree.
Not only for yourself, your reactions, your defense, but you learn to become a really good training partner, and you learn a lot of skill with that. So that's what our Muay Thai fundamentals class is focused on.
probably the reason that Muay Thai hasn't like evolved to something more than for fighters in Thailand is because of this reason. Right. You know, this is one of the reasons, is that they like there's this cult-ish thing about being a pad holder, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and like if you walked into a gym and started trying to hold pads for someone, they'd be like, yo, fuck off.
Right.
You're not a pad holder here.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
You know,
so Muay Thai fundamentals, yellow shirt. Once you get your orange shirt, that's our next rank up, and that takes another couple months of training. Once again, it's a window. It's not a set time. Now you're eligible for Muay Thai intermediate. So we're talking about getting a little bit more towards the fire now, right? We've learned not how to hold pads, but we've had an introduction to that. We're working on that, right? We've also worked on basic offense and defense with a partner now, right? So I'm taking some strikes maybe on my legs, on my arms. I'm starting to harden the body a little bit to get a little bit more comfortable. So now we're in the intermediate class. In the intermediate class, we do a little bit more freestyle pad work. So now we're working on our reactions. Okay, we know how to
sparring
hit
or
pads.
no sparring in this class?
No sparring, but sparring drills. Okay, so it's the level before sparring where, let's say, it's 2 for 2, 3 for 3. I'm not telling you what to throw necessarily, but you're working on finding out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Stuff is coming back at you that you're not sure what it is, but it's in a controlled setting, right? This is one step closer to the fire that we're talking about.
Right.
After our orange shirt is our green shirt, and that could be anywhere from 6 months, 8 months, 10 months of training. Now you're eligible for sparring. We move into the advanced classes. Advanced is where we spar. You know, and this has been and always will be probably a point of contention for people wanting to wait 8 months to train live, you know. And how long does it take in jiu-jitsu? You get your 2-stripe, you can train live. What are we looking at there?
3 to 6 months, somewhere in there.
Okay. But as you and I both know, sparring and training live in jiu-jitsu, 2 separate worlds.
Consequences are greater.
Yes, 2 separate worlds entirely, right? So we want to make sure that you have the tools necessary, not only offensively and defensively, but you've trained enough to have control to work with people in a live setting now, right? When I take the training wheels off.
It's faster is the problem.
Yeah.
The room for error is faster. Where with jiu-jitsu, you can see it happening a little bit, right? Like, and even as the instructor, you can see it happening. You can look over and be like, oh man, that person should be tapping. Their arm's not broken yet. Okay, let me go stop that.
Yeah.
Where in striking, it's seconds.
Yeah, it's speed checks, right?
It's seconds.
Yep.
You know, and you make a little wrong move, like and look, this can happen in jiu-jitsu too, just not as likely, right?
Sure.
And now you are knocked out, and now your whole life has changed.
Your whole life has changed. Yeah, we've seen it happen, you know. So we want to make sure when someone gets their green shirt and goes to our advanced level class that, 1, they have the proper offensive techniques. They understand what they are. 2, they have the proper defensive techniques. 3, most importantly, they have the control, right? I've seen them do the sparring drills. I've seen them work with different body types. I know when strikes are coming at them, when the heat is on them a little bit, they're not freaking out, right? And of course, it's still a big jump to live sparring, right? But they're a little bit more prepared for it than they would be if they just came in. They're a lot more prepared than if they just showed up and started sparring, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve. There's always going to be a gap there, right?
And really what we're looking for along the whole way is control, right?
Yes.
From kickboxing to fundamentals, from fundamentals to intermediate. It has so little to do with and this sounds terrible. This sounds a little not skillful. It has less to do with your skill level, and more to do with you being really aware of your skill level.
Yeah,
and you knowing, okay, I'm here and I'm there, rather than be like, no man, I'm good. I'm Michael Jordan, bro. I'm LeBron.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. And that's what green shirt comes down to. You know. So once we get our green shirt, we're close to a year into training. Like I said, 6, 8, 10 months, somewhere around there. After that is blue shirt. Blue shirt is kind of our first big promotion. Green is big. They're all big in their own way, right? But blue is like, okay, I've been here for a while, at least a year, you know. The requirement for blue shirt is that you have to have had sparred a couple times. You don't have to spar consistently. You don't have to spar hard, right? But you cannot just hit pads and hit the bag and progress through the system. We have to test our skills, see what's working for us, see what's not working for us, and start to develop our own game. Like I said, you don't have to spar every single week. You don't have to spar with the fighters. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. But you have to test your skills, right? Because there is a big difference between training in a controlled setting like hitting pads and sparring. Even though it's still a controlled setting, it's a little bit more chaotic, right? And we have to – it's just going back to what we said earlier. It's going into the fire a little bit deeper now.
No one's getting a black belt with never rolling.
Exactly. It's the same thing, right? I mean, some people have, but they're phonies, and we know that, you know.
Well, they're not a real black belt, no.
Exactly,
I mean,
right?
They
They're
bought
fake.
one off the internet. Yeah.
Exactly, you know. So that is the next step, you know. Blue shirt, you have to have sparred a couple times, and you have to have awareness of what that's like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and start to kind of develop your game around that, you know. After blue shirt, we have purple, brown, and black. Those are all spread out over the next couple of years, and you know, purple. The big one for us there is okay, now we're really starting to conceptually understand everything what we're doing here at Easton, and then also the sport of Muay Thai. I like the purple shirts to have kind of an understanding of I can watch a Muay Thai fight and really understand what's happening, and I could teach someone else about kind of what's going on here too, you know. And then brown and black, man, it really all of these promotions come down to time, right? Skill is important to a degree, but it's about the time that you have put into the community. It's about the time you have put into the art that we're training. It's
You'll
about
go
the time
faster with skill.
For sure. Yeah, you know, but you know, it's time that you've put into yourself too, you know.
Because we know that our minimum times, because they're not short.
Right.
Right? Yeah. They're not short. If they haven't hit the goals, right, on those minimum times that we have set, then we've blown that. Right. Then this is our fault.
100%.
You know? If someone's been training for 10 years and they are still a blue shirt, that is not their fault. That is our fault.
Yep.
You know, it is not that they suck or anything like that. Like, we have to figure that out as the organization, as the school. Yeah,
100%. Yep. I agree with that.
All right, so one more question before we go here, and it's going to kind of it's going to kind of lead back to the feeling like the redheaded stepchild a little bit, but it's also going to kind of lead into what it is that Easton does. And I'm not going to name the bad story by name, but you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's, again, we were sitting in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And we were talking about an incident with jiu-jitsu. Right, where the lead guy, the head guy of the jiu-jitsu school, had been accused of something 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you know, something very bad. And I was like, man, I couldn't imagine staying with that person. And I was like, man, if I did that, and I was talking to you and Jordan actually, right? And and you know, and I said, if I did that, would you guys still be here? And your answer was, well, you didn't do that. Like, if you did that now, no, you know, but go ahead, explain your answer a little bit and why it is that you never left Easton, because like, man, we weren't Muay Thai focused, you know, because I think these two things blend, right?
Yeah.
We weren't Muay Thai focused. And why didn't you just go do your own thing? Because it seems like your dad, like, I mean, shit, man, if you sat down with McCain and your dad's homies with McCain, it's not like you don't have connections. It's not like you probably couldn't found the resources in some way. Why are you still, why do you feel how you feel and why you're still here?
Yeah. I think it really just comes down to the culture that we've created at Easton, you know, and I've had the fortune of being able to watch that develop over the years. You know, Easton was around before I got there for a while. Right. But I'm lucky in the sense that I got there before the shift that we created and during, and I guess I can say I had a small part in helping that, you know, either through stuff that I did wrong or maybe suggestions, I don't know, you know, but I was lucky enough to be able to watch this transition, you know.
It's all stuff we did wrong, by the way.
Yeah, right. But look, this is just something, we've created something here that's really hard to replace anywhere else, you know, and Easton is more than just one person, right? It's the entire community that we have. It's the culture that we've created, and it would be very hard to replicate this. You know, even someone from Easton going somewhere else and doing this, it wouldn't be the same thing, you know, like it's a very special thing that we have. it changed my life, so something like that would be unfortunate that we talked about for sure, but it wouldn't be cause for me leaving this community, because the community itself is greater than that one individual. Person. Exactly. It's Easton is not defined by any one person. And as much as you and Professor Amal are the heads of this community, Easton itself is greater than that, and that's the cool part about it,
Yeah, I agree with you. Somebody asked me the last time I was on vacation, we vacationed with some friends, well, not like together. We just met up there. They're Canadian,
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, man, and we were just like talking about work and yada, yada, and like what we do. And he was like, man, if somebody gave me $100 million right now, I'd be done. I would not go back to Canada. And I for sure wouldn't go back to work, and I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine not coming back to Colorado.
Yeah.
And I think, I hate to say it, I think it makes my wife mad sometimes, because like there's nothing that could, okay, if I had to move away to like save my children's life, then I would do it,
Sure.
But outside of something crazy like that, there's nothing that would make me leave.
Yeah, man, look, if I got $100 million tomorrow, I'd probably have a pretty cool house. I'd have a pretty cool car, but I would be at Easton every single day still. You know what I'm saying? And some of my friends at Easton would probably have a pretty cool house and a pretty cool car too.
Exactly. Our level would go up, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to worry about being on the other side of the curtain ever again. We'd have private jets.
Right? Yeah, right? Exactly.
Like everywhere we went.
We would have a couple new Eastons.
We'd roll into the UFC like Dana, like just taking off on our jets and shit.
Yeah, we would be doing just fine, but in terms of my day to day, I don't think it would change. I don't know what
I would do different.
No, I would be doing the same thing. I would just have a lot more money in my bank account, and it's cool up until a point, I guess. But this is hard to. You can't buy this, and that's what
a lot of it was timing, man. A lot of it was was the timing of things. Like you brought up the Forrest and Stephan Bonner fight. Like if that fight didn't happen and we weren't where we were at that time, then who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows if we didn't have that connection with Dwayne when we got that connection with Dwayne, right? Like even though we went our separate ways and we do our own thing. Like who knows what would have happened? Like so much of it is timing. So much of it is timing.
Yeah.
So, there's just the luck of it. You could, I don't know how, I guess that's why Corona doesn't bother. Like I'm nervous about Corona, what's going on right now, but I'm not that nervous. Like I'm not super nervous that we're going to lose the schools.
Right.
Like that Easton won't be around anymore. And I know, and I guess we're lucky in that way. And two, we worked really hard.
And it's both, Some people say one or the other. No, it's a lot of hard work and it's also a lot of luck. But you better be ready for the opportunity when it comes. If you're not working hard, you're not going to be ready for it. So we bust our asses for sure every single day. And then we take full advantage of the opportunity when it shows up.
And as you said, on the other side of it, we take full accountability when it doesn't, when it's on our fault as well.
And that's the other part of it for sure. So, yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Sean.
Cool. Thank you. We'll have a cup of coffee in person next time.
We'll have a cup of coffee soon. I hope to say we're almost out of this shit.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.